First of all, want to give a big thank you to Tri-Coast Pictures for letting us screen this movie.
Yep.
It's the first time that we've ever been asked to screen a movie before it is available for the general public to view.
Yeah.
Which was really exciting.
It's not coming out in theaters.
No.
But it's coming out on DVD, and we'll have links to that in the show notes. Check them out.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
It is.
It's a good movie. Good topic.
Amazing. It's one of my favorite topics.
Yes.
And there are a lot of really good lessons to pull out of this movie.
A lot.
Yeah.
And this is a B movie. It's an independent film.
Yes.
And yeah, we've been waiting so long. And it's coming out today, so as soon as you get hold of this, it's out there. Check the notes. Go out and get it.
Yes.
All right. Should we get going?
Let's do it.
All right.
Hey there, B-siders. This is Bravo for the B-side. I'm Danny.
And I'm Jim.
And this week, we got a screener, which is really exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was, really cool to be able to do this.
It was. And I was really excited to watch it. And then I watched it, and I was really excited to talk about it. And so here we are.
Yeah. After almost a week of not being able to say anything.
Right?
And we're not going to be able to say anything for another 2 weeks.
I know.
Yeah. The show that we're covering tonight, it will go live. The movie will be released April 21st. And that's the same day this episode will drop. So that works out perfectly.
Right?
But we can't say anything.
So we can't do our step-by-step that we usually do.
Right.
And even if we could, the structure of this movie and the subject of this movie, everyone knows the story of it, right?
Yeah.
But we don't want it. It serves better to talk more about how it was done artistically, technically, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different dissection this week. Once we get into it, you'll kind of see why. And I'm excited. This whole thing, just out of the blue. Hey, would you, like what you guys are doing? Would you like to, screen this movie? And we got the link and the password and everything.
Heck yeah, we would.
And we thought, well, you know what? Let's just dive into this blind again. And, let's just make this the
episode.
Mm-hmm. And getting into this, when we were watching it, both of us partway through were like, this can't do a blow by blow because it's so different.
Yeah.
And so we decided, well, we're not going to. So we made some notes on some things so we could talk about different aspects pacing through the movie. But why don't I introduce it?
Yeah, tell us about it.
And then we can talk about what this episode is actually going to be about in addition to this film.
Yeah.
All right. So this week we are covering the movie Tombstone Rashomon. And for those of you who don't know what Rashomon is a Kurosawa film. And it's a format. It's actually now it's a term in psychology that has to deal with if you have 5 eyewitnesses to the same event, you're going to get 5 different stories.
Right.
Sort of thing. And so this covers that kind of thing. We'll come back around to that. Obviously it's 2020.
Yeah.
It's released because it hasn't even been released yet. It was directed by Alex Cox. It was written by Alex Cox and starring, and I put pretty much everybody in here because I thought they deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have the top rung of people. We have Adam Newbury, Jesse Lee Pacheco, Christine Doige, Eric Schumacher, Benny Lee Kennedy, Richard Anderson, Jason Graham, Sean Herndon, and Michelle Bauer. No rating on this,
right?
Because it's if it doesn't hit the theaters, it's not gonna
getting
get
a
one.
rating.
I don't. This is it would be a loose R, maybe PG-13. I mean, there's some language, but
I would say maybe PG-13 or 14.
Yeah, or TV-14 or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever you don't have to be an adult to see it.
Right.
Rating is,
but you shouldn't be a child, probably.
Right. Certainly not TVMA.
No.
Right. I didn't get the budget, and they just didn't send it. So I just took that as a polite way of saying we don't want to talk about it. I do want to note that it was supported by the University of Arizona, so there was probably some grant money behind this, which was, and it shows. I mean, there was some finances to this.
There were. Yeah.
So the I don't know what the official log line is. So I took it, basically I just summed up what the trailer gave us, which is a time-traveling documentary team goes back to document the fight at the OK Corral in Tombstone, Arizona. However, they arrive a day late, so interview the survivors. And this is where the Rashomon comes in.
Yes. Because
we have all the key survivors. And I mean, I don't know. We like to think that everybody knows about Tombstone and the shootout and the Earps and the McLauries and the Clantons.
Wait, you mean not everyone is super nerdy like we are?
Well, but it's just that it's famous. We've had Tombstone.
Yeah.
The movie based on that. We had Wyatt Earp, which started with Wyatt's life and ended up in Tombstone.
There have been several hundred books.
Written
about it.
Yep. Wyatt Earp is an American legend.
Yeah.
One of the things that was mentioned long ago in something that we did, we were talking about it. John Wayne, before he became the Duke, before he became an actor, he worked on set, and he ended up talking. He ended up on a movie set with Wyatt Earp, because Wyatt Earp was a consultant before he passed away. Yes. In the early cowboy films.
Yeah, he went. He loved watching movies with his wife, and he got really angry about the how inaccurate.
Yes.
A lot of them were.
Oh, they were just so loaded with bullshit.
And so he went and started talking to people about it. He was like, "Well, I was personally there for a lot of this. I know.
I am Wyatt Earp, and the fucking movie is about me. So silent or not."
Right, but not just ones about him. Westerns.
Yeah, westerns in general. Yeah,
and particularly theatrical gunfighting.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yep,
and it was just awesome. Yeah, John Wayne got advice from Wyatt Earp on how to be a cowboy. One of the things he said was never fucking say you're sorry.
Yep.
Don't. That's not what being a cowboy is about. And if you want to act like a cowboy and be an actor that does that, don't ever fucking say you're sorry. Do your thing.
Yep.
But anyway, so yeah, this is about Tombstone, Arizona, the OK Corral shootout with Wyatt Earp and all that stuff. A lot of things, a lot of books. Like you said, there's been books, there's been movies. References, even Star Trek, the original series, brought up the shootout at the OK Corral because they were stuck on some planet that read your mind and forced you to do stuff. And they made this weird scenario. They had to go to the shootout, and if Spock used the Vulcan mind meld to convince everyone that nothing was real, so the bullets couldn't hurt them, kind of thing. Well, because humans have doubt, and Vulcans are like, if we don't want to doubt, we won't. So yeah, they wouldn't believe even the slightest bit that things were real, and it was a whole thing. So the OK Corral shootout has been everywhere. I've been to Tombstone many times. Mm-hmm. I've been to the museum. I did the tours, and also just wandered around on my own. And just a little tip, folks: if you're going to Tombstone, Arizona, do everything you fucking can. Take the tours, do the things, pay the $5 for the little museum and all these little things, and then roam around town and roam around the edge, because Tombstone is more than just that one strip. That's old Tombstone, But if you wander around the edges of there, you'll actually find local historians who don't have booths and don't have jobs doing that stuff. And man, they can tell you some shit. And it's just awesome. Plus, we've read some excellent books.
Oh, Mary Doria Russell.
Yes.
She writes historical fiction, and she's well known for doing an outrageously extensive amount of research in the subjects that she covers.
And she always writes an apology.
I know.
For her books. She's like, I did this is like as close to 100% as I can get. And if I fucked up, I'm so sorry, but it's not like she just like went to fucking Wikipedia.
No.
She does. Her list of thank yous is extensive. PhDs, lifelong, historians, you name it. And they're wonderful books.
They are.
Doc, which is one of the actual few books. Everyone concentrates on Wyatt.
Yeah.
Not a lot of books on Doc Holliday.
Right. Not just on him.
Right.
Himself. I mean, obviously Wyatt's in the book. But
yeah. But he comes and goes.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that went on. So,
just the almost everyone has heard of the gunfight at the OK Corral, even if they know literally just that at one point there was a gunfight.
Right.
And they may have heard the names, Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's vaguely familiar, at least, even if they don't know, the story itself.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And it is,
This, this film is shot. Let's kind of break into this so they understand what we're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
It is shot in a standard, what you would see like on A&E and, all these channels with documentaries, the standard documentary format.
Right.
Where you have the person and they're sat in a certain way, that standard.
The sit down interview.
Yeah. The gray backdrop, the gray marbled, backdrop. And
then also the kind of like reenactment style cutaways.
Yeah. And it's so interesting.
It is.
And we'll get into it, but that's what you're getting into when you start this, and the funny thing is they don't deal with like, well, it's all that fancy equipment you got. And what's that? It's just like these guys agreed. All right, well, I don't want to talk about what happened yesterday, but fine. I'll fucking sit down and do it,
Right. And it's funny because, the really interesting thing about doing this movie in this Rashomon style is that this event, this shootout, is one of the most well-documented historical events in the United States.
Mm-hmm. And it is also not considered by anybody to be 100% accurate in any depiction.
Because everyone who was a witness to it and everyone who documented their story have these contradictory
in some cases big. It's not like
testimonies.
Well, he had a handlebar mustache. No, he had a bushy mustache. No, this is like, well, it was rainy. No, the mountain was on fire.
Right.
What?
Right. It's not like
it's just so different.
It's not like who shot first in Star Wars.
Right.
It's
you had to bring that up. But the movie Rashomon, let's get back to that real quick to help build this up. So Kurosawa, it's a simple story. A farmer wants revenge for the rape and murder of his wife. Mm-hmm. And so, everyone comes in and it's all this, the big samurai thing is ready to happen, but they keep getting these fucking different stories. There's 5 witnesses and they got 5 dramatically different stories.
Right.
And it's a masterful film, folks. So that's one we won't ever cover because it was a full-on production in Japan. Might be considered a B movie here because, not any big release, but it's amazing because of the flashbacks, the way he cut flashbacks into the story that was currently being told. It's just pretty cool. And this movie did a spectacular job mimicking that. Because I don't think at one point either of us was like, what the fuck is going on? Well, no. Because that happens in some movies. We'll be watching and then all of a sudden wait a minute.
Mhm.
What's going on? And it's like 2 or 3 minutes in, oh, this is a couple of years ago. We're in a flashback.
Right.
It can be handled poorly, but well, let's jump into this.
Yeah.
And also, just before we do, because this is a mockumentary,
Right.
Mockumentary doesn't always mean comedy,
No.
right? It's not an actual documentary. I mean, it's based on actual information.
Mockumentary just means mock documentary.
Yeah. And we're going to talk at the end about how, especially because as we record this, we're still at the beginning of this quarantine isolation, situation going on. Folks, whether you're a filmmaker or not, if you're a writer, whatever the hell you are, we're going to talk about why you should be doing this now, making your own documentary or mockumentary.
Yeah.
Because obviously, again, this was money because the sets were beautiful. Everything was great. But yeah, you can do this at your kitchen table, and we're going to talk about why. But let's talk about how great this fucking movie is.
Yes.
Take us in.
Okay. So, the opening credit sequence has a lot of really gorgeous shots of desert scenery, and they're all really well done. So right away, bringing us in, I was like, okay, this has some real artistry. This has some real talent behind it. And then we cut right to an interview with Ike Clanton.
Yeah. Who, can I just say, because this disturbed both of us, this guy.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, who is he?
Yeah, because he has this very familiar looking face.
And I swear to God, he looks just like a super young Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
And those of you know him from Full Metal Jacket. He's the one who, fucking freaked out.
Kingpin in the Daredevil series on Netflix.
Yep, in Daredevil. He was on some detective shows. And Mark Ruffalo.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So if Vincent and Mark had a love child, the guy who plays Ike Clanton would be him. And that's not being disparaging.
No.
The guy's look is like singular, but like I've fucking seen him before.
Yeah.
So he has, it's a very cool face.
It is.
I just want to say that because we spent minutes afterwards. So we finally looked it up.
Yeah. And the actors in this film were really, really good. And I say that not just because they were good, but because it's especially difficult to act just by yourself, sitting in a chair.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 2/3 of the movie.
Without anyone to play off of.
Right. Is well, almost 2/3 is just a sit down performance.
Right.
Staring into the camera and what crew is behind it. So,
and just talking. Yeah. So super, super impressive. And then we kind of shift over to Hafford, who owns a saloon in Tombstone. And he also is a coroner's assistant and I think an avid bird watcher. And
and a merchandising business.
Right.
He had all kinds of stuff going.
Yeah. An entrepreneur.
Yeah.
As a lot of people who went out at that time were.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we do these wonderful kind of cut shots back to the saloon, and it's kind of Ike and Hafford both talking about the night before the day of the shootout.
Right. It's so it starts with the night before because the reason all this happened is actually a long storied series of events, regardless of the accounts.
Well, it's
variances.
It started at least a year, if not more.
Right.
Before everything kind of came to a head.
Because Wyatt Earp's brothers hit Tombstone well before he did. He was off in Kansas City and doing his thing. And they were starting a business and they wanted to get into a silver mine and they wanted to do a faro games and, just get into everything. These guys were about making money.
Yeah.
And Tombstone's where they landed and it's like, oh, this is hitting finally.
Yeah.
Because they've had other ventures. And then they invited Wyatt out. Well, in the Southwest, there was a gang called the Cowboys, and they were pretty extensive, and simple things, cattle thievery, basically, which is, punishable by death.
Well, yeah, cattle driving and thievery.
Yeah. And some other things.
Yeah.
The occasional stagecoach and just, fucking
drug dealing.
Robbing people left and right for fun. So yeah, a lot of things led up to this, a lot of confrontations, because when Wyatt showed up in Tombstone, he was not law enforcement.
Right.
Right. Virgil was the sheriff, and or not the sheriff, the marshal.
Right. And Wyatt came in and started a game table.
Yeah. Pharaoh and Morgan, his younger brother. And Morgan was a deputy. James was just kind of helping sort of unofficially for a while.
Right.
And then, it's not up until the very end when all this shit went down that Wyatt Earp was actually given a badge and deputized to, basically avenge all the bad shit that happened. So we get to the events of the evening before, and they're just basically starting with the first version.
Right.
Right. And you kind of get the sense that Hafford is really kind of on the side of the Cowboys, and Ike.
Well, he initially says that he hates the Cowboys.
Right. But as other accounts not dealt with in the movie, for historians, that Hafford was not fucked with by the Cowboys, which usually means it's not because of his, generous disposition and charming personality. It's because there was some cash to, leave his shit alone.
Right.
And he probably did some like money laundering equivalent for them. But it came down to where they're talking about how Ike sat in the bar and there was supposed to be a meeting between him and Wyatt, and they're supposed to talk things out, and Wyatt never showed. And then Ike left, and then shit just went bad from there.
Right. Yeah.
So.
But we do have these really nicely done, like earnestly authentic sets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's, super well done.
Yeah.
Because at some point later on in my notes is, I did put in just looking at everything that's going on behind them.
Yeah.
And the labels for the everything was so well done.
The other thing that I found really cool was in everyone's different account, the settings that they're in are different. Yes. Everyone views the saloon a different way.
Yes.
Everyone views, kind of the street a different way. And it's just really interesting. And they kept it consistent between the different accounts as they were going through.
Right. And this also with the lighting, the way it was lit. And I noticed the angles at which they showed everything.
Yeah.
So like Kate, Big Nose Kate, when she's talking, it's very wide. And it's
almost flattened.
Yeah. And it's also very empty.
Right.
Like, not a lot goes on around here. And she's not in all that. She's, it's just her. She's focused on her stuff. And, but then you get Ike, everything's like piled up against him.
Yes.
It's like, it's not conducive to him being there. And
it's really, it's very clever and somewhat subtle if you're not looking for it.
Right. Right. I think, though, most people will clue into it towards the end or by getting close to the end.
Well, as it gets a little more outlandish.
Yeah. Well, especially because like Wyatt, he views Tombstone as this like, fucking mess, just this bustling hive of bullshit. And, almost as if he's like saying, do you know how fucking hard it is to just like go about your business here? I mean,
there
look
is
at all
so much
this shit,
going on,
right?
so many people in all of his flashback accounts.
And then you get Sheriff Brady and,
Brady. Oh, Behan.
God,
yeah,
Brady.
Johnny Behan.
I'm sorry, Sheriff Brady is Billy the Kid in New Mexico. Sorry. So Sheriff Behan, his look at it is almost like Kate's, only it's just not that there's nothing going on. There's a lot of people, but everybody's so sedate, and it's this well-run, well-disciplined little town.
Yes.
Nobody does everything. It's just so funny.
It's very interesting.
And while hers is flat, his is more like washed out.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just like he can't fully paint the picture because he's glossing over so much.
Well, because he's looking through his own personal lens.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll get to this. Yeah, there's a bit at the end. So we get, and that's pretty much it. It's just that setup, right? Mm-hmm. So we have Ike leaving the bar, and then we jump into we get to see Kate.
Yeah. Kate Herony.
Yeah, big nose Kate. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I loved about her is they gave her basically a speech impediment, which is just language related.
Yeah.
So yeah, she refers to
everyone.
Everyone as she or her, but also masculine, feminine. She refers to Wyatt Earp, or I'm sorry, Doc Holliday, as her wife.
Yes.
Right. And I don't know that the actual Kate had that issue.
No.
I hadn't read about it
for sure.
But she did have a heavy accent, and but she was here long enough as a child. The accent came from her parents and her surroundings, and she grew up here. Mm-hmm. But
who knows?
I just liked it. I thought it was clever because I like the neutralization of everything. It's because Big Nose Kate is also, if you're going to look into the history, she went on to do Gangbusters. She ended up owning a good portion of that town, Big Nose Kate's saloon, and she had her hands in shit and everything. And she became a legend. She
was very intelligent.
Oh yeah, she was by no means stupid. But she could be gruff, but she did like sort of the finer, girly mm-hmm. things when she could. But I like the fact that they did that because it was almost like it's even if she did know the difference, it's on her terms.
Yeah.
Fucking men, I'm done. It's just all women.
Well,
so, and you're like, go Kate.
Yeah.
But she wasn't pushy. That's not the word I'm looking for. She wasn't like in your face about it. Though they were very subtle word, it was very subtle word use. And she wasn't like, and he was, or she was my wife, and, like a man would push it on some, right. I'm in charge, Kate was in charge just by being Kate.
Well, what was really interesting about their portrayal of her and the actress's portrayal of her is that she was obviously trying to paint a picture of herself as just this woman who's trying to get along in the world and be with her doc and everything. But it was very calculated mm-hmm. to put you on her side.
Right.
Even though she is telling things about, there's one part where she informs all the gang to the sheriff. And then she's surprised because she informs on Doc. Mm-hmm. And then she's surprised when he gets arrested.
Yep.
So she kind of is trying to paint this portrait of herself as this like poor naive girl.
Right.
Who, really just wants to settle down.
Yeah. Well, and it's also the way it's done. So when we're talking with Kate, we've got a bunch of scenes because we by the time we get to her full account, mm-hmm. we have little blurbs from Wyatt towards the end, Behan, Johnny Behan, the sheriff.
Uh-huh.
They have their little almost like introductory things kind of going.
Right.
But when we first flow into like the real story of what happened, it's Kate's version first. She starts detailing like through the whole thing.
The day.
Yeah. And mm-hmm. The thing that I liked about it was, again, it was so natural.
Right.
As they're talking, they cut to the flashback and stuff. It's just really well done, and it was really well paced. The thing that when we get to Kate is, it's about her being in the photo gallery shop, and we go into this big long thing that she loves about this photo and how the gallery shop,
the story behind it.
Yeah, the story behind it's being told to her, and then all of a sudden, bam, things are happening outside the window,
right?
Which is where the OK Corral is, and she's, the next thing I know is something's going on and my doc is involved and she's being shot at. And something was wrong with her rifle, so she had to draw her pistol, because that was part of the story is, Doc Holliday took a rifle or a shotgun. That varies too.
From one of the ERPs. They gave it to him.
And brought it, and it wasn't working right, so he dropped it and drew a 6-shooter. And then, we have Ike fleeing the shootout into the gallery.
Mm-hmm.
And then my favorite line was, and as everybody knows, Morgan and Virgin were killed, but got better.
Yes. They got better.
They got better. At that point, I thought, this fucking actress is great. She's really, really, really good.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, by the time we get to all this, we've seen a lot of the city, a lot of locations.
Yeah.
We've had hotel rooms, we've had lobbies, we've had saloons, we've had the gambling hall, we've had many outdoor locations, with different angles.
Yeah.
And nothing was wasted.
No.
Wherever they were at, which I'm imagining they shot in old Tombstone.
Yeah.
But they made really good use of it. And, it shows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. So then we get to, she starts talking about Johnny Behan. And then we kind of transition over to his testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And I found him really, really funny.
He was comical.
He was. He's talking about why being sheriff is so expensive, and he doesn't understand why everyone complains about how much money he spends.
Yeah, it takes for him to do his job.
Right. As a crew member in his sit-down interview is like brushing makeup on him.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, okay, are we ready to start now? And starts telling about his his remembrance of the night before, right. Which is much higher brow than everyone who's spoken so far.
Mm-hmm.
His version of the saloon, there's like a stage and someone's reading Shakespeare.
Right.
And everyone's in like velour outfits. It's
yeah, his lens is fancy.
Yes, it is. And he also speaks like he's putting on airs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in his flashbacks, he's a little less pompous. He's still pretty pompous, but it's like when he knows he's in front of the camera, he's like, well, I better make sure, that they think really well of me.
Yeah.
Even though he says things like, this was a notable phrase that I put down, betwixt the piss boards and ivory.
Yeah. So again, for those of you who are not apprised of that period, education was few and far between for all these people who built the fucking West. Almost none of them had any schooling whatsoever.
They were self-educated.
And it's funny, the ones who did the most are often the ones who had no education, because they just if they made it this far in life just by learning shit as they went along, then nothing could take them down.
Right.
And most people who ended up dead and their skeletons dug up 100 years later by, people like me and the archaeologists out roaming the desert, like, what's this? Oh, it's a bone. Ah! That was a guy with a fucking PhD from Harvard who made his way out west, thought he knew his shit. Nope. 10 minutes after the grass ended and the sand began, he fucking got down. forever.
Right. I mean, there were a couple that are notable, like Doc himself was a dentist.
Right.
And he went to a very prestigious school of dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually excellent at his job when he was not piss drunk or, coughing in pain.
Right. Yeah. Well, for his illness,
right,
forced him out of the South and out west, because that's at the time anyone with tuberculosis.
Mm-hmm.
They first sent him out west, and then later realized, holy shit, if you get him like 7,000 feet elevation, like Flagstaff,
mm-hmm.
or the sanitariums in Colorado,
there's less oxygen saturation.
Yeah, and like Flagstaff, the Babbitt brothers moved out there because one of them was about to die.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, you're not going to live long, but if you go out here, it'll be less painful.
Right.
Right. And he died of old age.
Yeah.
They both died of old age. They built an empire up there. So yeah, he was awesome. But that's the thing. Doc Holliday was not a man of that kind of ambition where he ran out. I mean, he had his own problems.
Yes.
And he had to run a few times from some shit.
A couple. Yeah.
I
mean, a few.
Yeah. But, who knows? I mean, who knows where he would have ended up actually. But he wasn't there by choice as an adventurer, if you will.
Right. He was there for his health, but he couldn't afford to stay in, there were very expensive sanatoriums.
Right.
For tuberculosis patients built specifically in places of high elevation. But he couldn't afford to stay in any of them for very long.
Right. Well, he wasn't welcome in some of them after various periods of time because he was who he was.
Yeah.
He just, yeah. Anyway, this isn't about Doc Holliday. It's about everybody. Where were you? Or are you switching it over to me?
I was switching
We're talking about Behan.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just touched on Behan.
So yeah, Behan, one of the things, because we have him a couple different times.
Mm-hmm.
So we have him in the setup, right? And then we go through the rest of the guys, their story, and then we come to Behan again. And he's talking about it's funny because in his version everybody listens to him.
Yes.
In everybody else's version, everyone's telling him to go suck a dick. I need you to get your gun, suck my ass, Behan.
Mm-hmm.
And he just stood there and took it. And
right.
the actor that they chose to play him and the personality that he exuded in that performance just was awesome.
It was.
It's like you fully get this guy somehow was given the fucking badge of the sheriff of the region and everybody just pissed on him. And he's that kind of personality where he'll either laugh like, Behan, you're such a fuck. You're so funny because he's in fucking denial. Or B, he's just such a monumental pussy. He knows, he gets a paycheck. He's got to tell him to quit. Other accounts and other movies, he's like, nobody listens to me.
Well, yeah.
So
there are a lot of different accounts of him historically.
Yeah. In this one, is in his account, he's telling him that Tombstone has a no-gun policy, and he was enforcing it, and the Clantons and McLaury boys handed their shit over, and all of a sudden the Earps stormed down the street, and I fucking love they replay that scene in every version.
Yes,
and I love how different it is, comically so. These guys are coming. Like they're 3 steps away from shitting their pants after a bad burrito. In his version, they're just like, pum, 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 almost speed walking to the point of running down the street, for this. And they just show up and they're like, bam, 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 bam. Almost no conversation. It's great. And then he's saying that Wyatt misunderstood what he had told him because, Wyatt Earps, everyone's actually account.
Except Behan.
Except Behan says that Behan told them that everyone was disarmed.
That he had disarmed them.
He had disarmed them personally, which, well, you can't have a shootout if everybody's disarmed.
Well,
so, yeah, he is a fucking liar. So then we get to Wyatt's turn. The thing I like about Wyatt is Wyatt Earp, when you read the accounts of the people who were close to him but weren't famous.
Every account of people who were close to him.
Well, yeah. But
and who thought well of him.
Well, yeah. Well, even, no, because it compares to some people who fucking hated him. His demeanor is like a steady line through these rocky waves of history and accounts on how shit went. Wyatt Earp was depicted in every sense of everything you'll get, a zero bullshit person.
Right.
When he was younger, he was an absolute fuck up and nearly faded into, oblivion. Right. As a young man, he did a lot of bad shit, but then he ended up becoming a buffalo skinner with Wild Bill Hickok, or was it Buffalo? No.
I don't remember.
One of the fucking Buffalo guys. So anyway, that taught him, though, that work is work. And if you don't get your shit done and people fuck up, you can get in trouble for it, right? Because it's not an easy thing. So anyway, from that, he gained a whole new experience. He matured. And then he realized, well, everything in life should be like this. Just no bullshit. Just get to it. Get to the fucking point. Do your fucking job. Don't lie for people. Don't put up with anybody fucking with you. And that's what got him into law enforcement, because he met a lot of people, some people from his skinning days, getting into law enforcement or being deputies in different towns. And as he made his way around, that's how he evolved in all of his positions. But anyway, circling back, this actor did a fantastic, the writers did a good job.
Yes.
With how he should speak. The actor did an amazing job representing him.
Yes. And
he's weird. It's weird to describe, because when you say he's like a no bullshit kind of guy, he's also not a cocksure, stuck up prick. He's very direct. Very direct.
He doesn't waste words.
Right. And that's the thing. Wyatt Earp has always been described as a man of few words.
Yes.
Speaks when it's necessary, and often frustrated with those who speak too much, which is probably why he and Ike Clanton had, because Ike Clanton, in all versions, even his own,
talks
in stories,
a lot,
is a talker, right? Very sociable guy. He doesn't, in his version, he doesn't talk about how when he's a drunk, he's an absolute dick, but everyone else does. He won't, someone shut him the fuck up.
Yeah. I mean, to the point where there are accounts of Ike Clanton that depict him as almost having a sort of like disability.
Almost.
Yeah.
It's a severe one. Yeah. So the Wyatt's account leads up. It's his version of things as we lead up to it. And we get things that are known throughout the legend. So there was a stagecoach robbery and murder, and that was it. That's in a lot of tellings of this story, an account of this incident. That when this happened, people blamed Doc Holliday for arranging these stagecoach robberies, and then
even being there, because he was out of town. According to Doc, he was playing a faro game.
Right.
Out of town.
Yeah. So, they accused him basically of orchestrating and committing these.
One particular stagecoach robbery. It was a Wells Fargo.
Well, several. That one is the one that went bad, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was the thing is the Earps were cleaning up the area because the stage lines were safer. Right. And the cowboys were getting pissed because they're getting pinched or blamed
for the robberies.
And the money always showed up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, these Earps, man, not only did they figure out who did it, but they got the fucking money back. Yeah. And what's good for business in a town is when a bank is robbed, you get their money back.
Right.
That's confidence. You're going to get more bankers, more business. Wells Fargo is going to bring more traffic through that town.
Yeah.
Right. So that you kind of see that as, well, that's a viable thing to come up with.
Right.
Especially if you're a cowboy. and you want the blame on somebody else.
Right. And so yeah, in all accounts, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, in this particular instance, the 3 stagecoach drivers were killed.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of rumor that there was a meeting between Earps and the Clantons.
Mm-hmm.
If you give up, because
there were 2 particular individuals who everyone was like 90% sure.
3 individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 individuals who were named by Wells Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
Dead or alive.
Yeah.
You get a reward. So there was a rumor that the Clantons and the Earps, Wyatt and Ike, let's just put it that way. Wyatt was trying to say, if you turn these 3 guys over, we'll split the money, kind of thing. And then, Ike
got mad because he didn't want the Cowboys to think that he was a narc.
Right. And there's just a lot of stuff.
Right.
A lot of stuff. So all that stuff kind of comes out in his account as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ike didn't bring that part up. We go back to Ike after Wyatt.
Yes.
And he jib-jabs about that a little bit. But I loved this bit at the end of Wyatt's interview, his main interview. We hear the interviewer giving him stage direction.
Right.
And this is the thing. Documentaries are, unscripted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an interview. And this is, this shit goes on in all those unscripted shows, and in some documentaries, I know this happens, but it was hilarious. Okay, now can you, because they want to get that shot, right? Documentaries about the talking and stuff, but it's that fucking shot. Because remember when we interviewed Hilton, he talked about the documentary in Seattle?
Right. It's about the candid shot.
Yeah. And he just happened to take a picture with an old camera that ended up being the poster for the documentary and all the literature. And everyone's like, whoa, this is awesome.
Well, he set out to take the picture for the poster, but no one believed that he would do it.
Well, yeah, but he caught it. Right. And that's the thing. So this, can you lean forward a little more? Can you look up again? Okay, now back down. Into this. And just.
Well, it's with the Bible.
The Bible, yeah.
He brought a Bible that had written in it, and he brought it because it had this inscription in it of someone detailing his character. He was presented this Bible because he's such a good moral person.
Yes.
The really interesting thing is that in Ike Clanton's testimony in this movie, Ike is also holding a Bible.
Yep.
He doesn't mention the Bible.
Nope.
He's holding it because he thinks that it makes him look more like a stand-up citizen.
Yes.
And because if you're holding the Bible, you can't be a liar.
Right. And I noticed that. And it's funny because nowadays that's the kind of shit that people do, right? Especially like if you're a celebrity and you fucked up, your agent and your whoever PR person is going to be all over your shit telling you exactly what to fucking wear, what to fucking do, how to put your hair, what to carry, what to say so it can represent this. Now we're watching interviews with people from an era. None of that shit matters because nobody's going to see them. The only thing that ever happened was somebody would approximately write down what happened and it would show up in a newspaper somewhere.
Right.
There were no films. They didn't even use photos because it was so expensive.
Yeah.
Right. For that kind of stuff. So I thought that was kind of a nice touch. All these people had their little poses. Yeah. Their little props. And it really, to me, it was like, I don't know if this was by accidents or by brilliance. Maybe we can talk to these guys and find out at some point. But it's a commentary.
I think it was intentional.
It's human nature. I want to be believed. So you're going to do what you can physically to emanate. I'm trustworthy. I'm truthful. And if holding a Bible will help, I'm going to instinctively pick it up. Right? We're not all very plotting, but it is human nature. It's posturing. And we use that sometimes as a negative term. But we all posture.
Well, yeah.
At some point.
I just thought it was interesting that Ike holds the Bible, doesn't say anything about it, but you know why he's holding it. And Wyatt has a Bible and he points it out and he says, I brought this as evidence of my moral character. It has an inscription in it. I also brought this letter signed by many people testifying that I'm an honest.
Yeah, like an affidavit.
Right.
And it's funny because in those things, I love that they did that, because a lot of these, well, first of all, there's never really been a movie after the fact, right? Now, like Tombstone and Wyatt Earp, all
sure,
that,
of the aftermath.
It's the whole build up takes to the shootout, and then there's like, so and so went on his way, and Wyatt Earp and they're settled in California, and Wyatt ended up working in Hollywood and made no less than some odd films, where his death 1936 and this and that's it.
I mean,
right?
I think there are a couple of stories that focus afterwards specifically on Wyatt's revenge ride.
Oh yeah, but
apart from that,
I mean the aftermath of all the bullshit.
Right.
Life goes on. Mm-hmm. So the whole shootout at Tombstone is yesterday's news. Nobody fucking cares anymore. Dime store novels are going on about it, but everyone else is done. Right. That's where this was kind of awesome, because it I don't know, just played these characters
mm-hmm.
just so well in that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
But yeah, I hope we can find out the truth behind it.
So we get to Doc, finally. Doc's is really not until very close to the end, actually.
I know. And they were clever in doing that, because as much as I love the whole story, I'm not going to lie. My ass was itching for some Doc Holliday.
I know.
When are we going to get to Doc? I don't, in all the movies we've talked about, I don't fucking care who plays Doc Holliday. And there's often discussions online. So who plays the best Doc Holliday? I don't give a shit. I just love Doc Holliday in any fucking form.
I mean, I know he, is a real person, but he's such a wonderful and deep character.
I think he's a caricature of us.
What?
Well, because think about it. So Doc Holliday had a specific way he was brought up. Southern gentleman. That's a very unique, singular lifestyle compared to like the rest of America at that time.
Yeah.
Right. And today we can identify with that, just like we can identify with, Old English period pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I think he exhibited parts of us in such an outlandish fashion that it draws everyone to him, because he was a smart ass. He was serious. He was, he was not outspoken. He wouldn't shut up. All these different things. The guy was an amalgam of everything. And it's like, it ate away at who he was.
He is the kind of character that even with all of his flaws, he makes them seem like flaws that you would want to have.
Absolutely. That's why I love Wyatt Earp had to work for a living.
That's true.
The whole Kansas City thing, getting shot at all the time and, coming out of stuff where everyone else around you fucking dies. Doc Holliday, however, is like, well, I'm going to stir up shit here. And if anybody gets in my fucking face, I'm going to have to kill him. But see, then I'm going to pack my little bag and I'm out. I'll just go somewhere else and start again, Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did work as a dentist.
He did.
But his lifestyle was in no way.
Well, he didn't make money as a dentist out west. I mean, he made some money, but that wasn't living money.
Well, no, he served everybody he could. That was one of the things about him, is he was serious about, because being a dentist was sort of like a last ditch, go be a dentist. It's the only fucking school we can get you into. You're just such a shit, But who had money? Nobody out west had fucking money. And by out west, anything past Illinois.
Yeah.
So when you're in Iowa or Kansas or Missouri, nobody's got any fucking money, but everybody needs care. And and he was serious about it, but he couldn't pay his rent. He couldn't pay for his office space. It was not money to live on. And then Kate, when she showed up, had some ideas like, I'm tired of washing our clothes in the shit bucket. You're supposed to be a doctor.
Right.
And he found out in rather short order he could make way more money gambling.
Yes.
And bam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on top of living money, he needed money for morphine and for alcohol, because of his tuberculosis.
Yep.
So, and the actor who plays him in this movie, I think that he is. It's my favorite portrayal of Doc, actually, in any film that I've seen so far.
Yeah.
It's brief.
Yeah. But
it is excellent.
Well, we had talked about, my thought of it was Doc Holliday, as we've heard about, without Hollywood's add-ons.
Right.
Because in all the movies, Wyatt Earp, even though Doc Holliday plays a little part in that, as compared to Tombstone, which is, all of them, and he's in the whole thing.
Right.
It's like everything else. Hollywood has to add a bunch of shit to true life characters to fill the screen with more flourish and, fanfare and stuff. This was kind of like a take it or leave it. Nobody fucking cares kind of approach to it. It was the stripped down, like it was just like hardcore Doc Holliday, and the actor was just, this is it.
Well, yeah.
And it was really, really good.
It was
refreshing.
Yeah. And I think a couple of things about his portrayal that are really interesting is that he is trying to exude this very Southern gentleman. I'm well educated. I'm one of the smartest people here. Not in a pretentious way, but in a like I know what the fuck I'm talking about kind of way.
Yeah.
But through all of that, you see that he is really lost and lonely.
Yeah.
But
well, Doc Holliday was a hard man to like by everybody's account.
Yeah.
Right. Because, if you folks ever do dive into, and I recommend it, look into the Tombstone stuff. It makes for some great casual reading.
It is fascinating
down
stuff.
the road. I mean, just make a light hobby out of it, and spend like the next couple of years to go through like even just 3 or 4 books.
Well, if you do nothing, read Mary Doria Russell's books on him, Doc and Epitaph.
Absolutely, because she does a fantastic job on him. Plus, there's documentaries that we've watched that are on streaming services specifically about Doc Holliday or Doc and the Earps or the whole period, and he flies into it. But he was a lonely man.
Yeah,
because he didn't trust anybody.
No, the closest 2 people he had in his life were Kate and Wyatt, and both of them came and went.
Well, yeah, because when he first met Wyatt Earp, he was in Kansas City, with his practice, and or was it just before that? And then they met again in Kansas City. I can't. We're geeks on this, but let me tell you, once you get into this, you realize what a fucking flurry. You talk about the whole maps and charts on the wall with yarn and shit going through it. There's no way you could fucking follow these strings in some cases. Anyway, they met casually.
Yes.
Wyatt Earp was the only person who A, never asked anything of him, and B, treated him with respect because of his position. Didn't talk down to him. He didn't do anything that everybody else in Doc Holliday's life had done to him.
Right.
And there was a bond. They trusted each other when there were things that happened.
Yeah.
And Doc Holliday realized, well, this fucking he says what he says, and that's all that he means. There's no, and he says he's got my back. I can trust that to my fucking grave.
Right.
And he was right.
Their friendship did fall apart after the revenge ride.
Well, yeah, because
Doc felt that Wyatt went too far.
Because Doc is there's a point where you just have to, it's enough.
Yeah. And
now people are getting involved that shouldn't be. And people are going to die that aren't really involved in this. They're just, it's that whole periphery thing. Every fucking guy you kill in the West has a cousin. If it's not the brothers, it's the cousins, right? And then the cousins have cousins, and you're never out of it. It's the Hatfield and McCoy's thing. It's just like everybody's fucking related to somebody, and you're either on side A or B. But Wyatt did see him
Yeah.
You know, they died, or they died. Doc Holliday passed with them being as good of friends as they were.
Right.
You know, but yeah, they had their rough moments. But it's not that he never mistrusted him. They disagreed all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Doc disagreed with everybody.
Yeah.
I think Wyatt was the only one who dealt with him in a direct manner.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about, because I've got it in the notes, Doc Holliday's description of them coming down the street.
So yeah, like every account, they all have them coming down the street. In Doc's version, he gets deputized literally just right before walking out onto the street.
Yeah.
By the Earps. And him and the gang show up in a fucking SUV.
I know.
A police SUV. Lights flashing, everything. It's amazing.
It was so out there, right?
It was.
And it made me laugh because it's just so out there and so not in keeping with what we've been. And this is near the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Right. So it was just brilliant. You know, I saw it as the filmmakers thing of, you know, just to remind you, you know, shit can go anywhere in this. Right.
I thought
this isn't an A&E documentary.
I thought it was really fun that they did that. And I also thought that it was actually a really good allegory for how certain that Doc was that he and the Earps were in the right.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there was no question in his mind, even though he's very somber when he talks about the cowboys that he personally shot.
Right.
You know, he doesn't take a life lightly.
It was necessary.
Yeah.
As he put it.
Yeah. And he also, in his account, really interestingly, because the narrator says, tell us about the difficulty at the OK Corral. And he's like, what difficulty? And they're like, the shootout?
Yep.
You know, he's more forthright. He's, you know, it wasn't a difficulty.
Right.
That's, you know.
that's well, yeah, that's like people talking about the, you know, Irish Civil War. You know, it's referred to as the Troubles. And most people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? It was, you know, it wasn't no trouble. It was a thing. But
right.
Yeah, I love it. It was no difficulty.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So anyway, it wraps up. We get some summary closing things on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we get Ike Clanton's end recap. You know, they never had guns and they never fired a shot. So what we get is the last summations of these very different accounts.
Right.
Right. And it's not that every account is different because everyone's avoiding blame.
Mm-mm.
Right. They pick some very minuscule, unimportant details that have nothing to do with anything, but those are very different in each account. And that's to illustrate that this is how it is. And we've often said, you know, if you put 500 people in a room and you read your script, you're going to get 500 different stories and you get 5,000 pieces of advice, all different.
Yeah.
Right. You know, because everyone will give you 10 tips and no 10 tips will be the same. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I loved about this was the range of of historical fact and supposition.
Yes.
Right. This is very much like those books. You know, they took everything that they had.
It was obviously well researched.
Yeah, it was extensive, you know, down to minutia. And, you know, they ran the gambit with it. Somewhere in here is how it actually fucking happened.
Well, it is the Rashomon, phenomenon where you have all these different accounts. They are contradictory, but all of them are plausible.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. And that's the thing, is they're all plausible, and somewhere in there is the fact, but then you're not going to ever get to it, because if you didn't see it there yourself, and it also, even if you were, the whole point of Rashomon is to make you question what you've perceived.
Right.
Did you actually see it? And that's actually a recurring theme the last few years in detective and crime shows and miniseries and stuff, where they're constantly saying,
did you see it how you think you saw it?
Yeah, you can't trust the fucking witness.
Yeah.
You didn't see what you think you saw. Kind of thing.
I know someone who served on a jury for a murder trial. Mm. He wrote a book about it. So he was sequestered for a week or 2 weeks, a long time. And because it took them that long to kind of figure it out. And one of the things that they got hung up on as a jury is that one of the witnesses saw the license plate of the SUV of the car of the suspect,
right?
Yada, 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 right? And there was a point while they were sequestered where they took a ride, a chaperoned ride to go get some food and bring it back to the hotel that they were sequestered in. And on the way, they saw an SUV that vaguely matched the description of the SUV in the murder case that they were, supposed to be thinking about.
Right.
And the license plate, they all were like, is that such and such's car? Right? Because you hear this again and again and again in your head, and then you see something and you connect it with things that you've been thinking about in your brain. And so that made them question, well, did this person really see the SUV? Right. Or was it like we just experienced, where we were like, hold on a second, because what the witness brought forth their testimony as it was all over the news and the radio. Look out for this SUV. These are the license plate numbers, and you hear that on the radio over and over and over again.
Right.
So then every time you see a green SUV, you're like, oh, is that, you know what I mean?
Eyewitness testimony is unreliable in all cases.
Yeah.
And I think of one of the funnier things that we ran into was an IT crowd when Roy is telling Jen, I've seen your builder on Builders from Hell. And, he went around and he pissed in everything and this and that. And by the end, he's like, I'm actually pretty sure the guy was black.
Right. He starts out, I'm 99% sure. Yeah. I'm 85% sure.
Are you having me on? Are you winding me up?
60% sure.
Oh, I don't think I would have ever put it that high. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the interesting thing about them doing this movie. Mm-hmm. We are so far removed from the events of that day in
1881.
Thank you. I keep thinking 1776. Fuck, why?
Everyone who was there is dead.
Yeah. And the reliability of witnesses. Because also remember when this happened, we've already had Western heroes and legends. Mm-hmm. The whole Taming of the West, the Indian Wars, as they called them. Okay, these dime novels sold more than comic books sell today.
Yeah.
Right, per capita, in a ratio. Because that was the comic book, that was the history, that was the newspaper for almost everybody.
Yes.
Because the newspaper would have, this happened here and the James boys did this and that, and all these different people and, Billy the Kid and Wild Bill's show and blah, 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 blah. Right. Well, and they'd have a column. Whereas I can get a dime. I can buy this little novel. Mm-hmm. It's got several pages of story.
And it's more interesting.
It is more interesting, and it's going to make me an expert. That was the thought,
Well, yeah. And when this happened in Tombstone, everyone who was there knew immediately, well, I'm going to go down in history.
Yeah, because they knew everyone
was going to want to talk about it, was going to want to write about it, was going to want to report about it.
Yeah, because everybody outside of Tombstone, they knew those people were known throughout America.
Yeah.
The Earps, and because they've seen the dime novels. and most of them came from, because remember, nobody was born and raised in Tombstone at this time.
No.
Because it just fucking started.
It was like 5 years old.
Yeah, everyone's coming out. So everyone's heard about all this legendary West shit. And that's the thing. By the time this went down and people are giving their testimonies, they're doing it dime store novel.
Yes.
Dime novel fashion. They're playing it up. They're making it exciting because they want to be quoted as being in the excitement, right?
Right.
Not,
I was there as part of it.
Yeah. So I heard some shots. It sounded like popcorn popping because my outhouse is 1.5 miles out that way. And I was basically sitting with my pants around my ankles. And I heard that and I thought, well, what in the hell is someone making popcorn for? And that's not what they want to go down as. They want to go down as, bullets were whizzing by me. If they're going to talk about being in the shitter, they're going to at least add bullets whizzing by, right?
Yeah.
1.5 miles away. That kind of stuff. So, yeah.
It was immediately sensationalized.
Yeah. And we're never going to get the truest account of it. I mean, we've come close. And I think this did a really good job of pinning it down to not the popular theories, but the logical ones.
Yeah.
And there's a difference.
Yeah, it was very thoughtfully planned. It was well researched. Everything was, if not like perfectly historically accurate, generally historically accurate.
Right.
And it's a really unique way to tell that story.
It is. And that's a excellent slide into what makes it a great, unique way to tell the story is it's a mockumentary.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not doing a dramatization. I mean, it's fiction, mockumentary, that it's scripted and it's a movie.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
This is what you can do with this time. Okay. Yeah. There is a number of things going on YouTube that people are making documentaries, which are boring as shit because it's just like, this is what I do during my quarantine day. Might have some value down the road. But I say take it a step further and either do a mockumentary, have fun with it.
Right.
Okay. Excuse me. There is a follower of ours, Blake Ritter, and you can look him up, Blake Ritter on YouTube. He's from the UK and he makes short films. They're really good. And I think we mentioned, I might have before, he did a coronavirus short film. And then he did one on isolation, which is kind of like a found footage video diary thing. And he's doing stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
And my thought is, go out there and see what he's doing. Make your own. Make some short films. We've talked about you can do this shit in your living room. You can do it without any money. Just use your iPhone, point it, and just work with what you've got. Right?
Right.
Create, have fun. Instead of writing a movie, have fun with your situation. So we're all locked in. We're all getting, agitated because nobody knows what this fucking road's going to look like financially. Right.
Right.
Who's going to have jobs, who isn't, how are we going to do financially? How are you going to do financially?
What is everything going to look like?
Right. How long is it going to take for the economy to come back to its normal? Is it going to be a permanent swing? Are we going to learn something from this?
How long is this itself going to last?
Exactly. So take a moment, take yourself out of that, make a mockumentary. Okay. Because you also see on social media, people are doing 10-second clips of the latest thing I've seen is people doing, choose your isolation character. And it's people doing like the games where the character's going like this. And as you flip through the different costumes.
Oh.
So it'll be like boom, boom. And then it'll cut. They're wearing something different. Same pose, boom, boom, doing this wiggle thing. It's actually pretty funny. Blake did one. There's a couple other people, Now, there you go. Okay. That was fun. They had fun doing that.
Yeah.
And it took a little while because after they got to cut all that shit together.
Mm-hmm.
And not all these people are filmmakers, clearly.
Right.
Some are authors, some are just people.
They don't have to be long either. I showed you a video a couple of days ago of a guy who just did a blanket fashion show.
Yes.
He took a blue blanket and wrapped himself in it in several different styles.
Yep.
Wore some fabulous heels and filmed a bunch of takes of him
going to the refrigerator. Like his 30 trips to the fridge during the day, each one in a different blanket configured. Oh, it was fucking awesome. But that's just it. Yeah. You can do this. So, I mean, I know this is going to be, 2 weeks out before people get this, but I can pretty much guarantee that there's going to be some level of this still going on.
Yeah.
Because we're not there yet.
I mean, and obviously your mockumentary at home in isolation is not going to look like Tombstone Rashomon.
No. Which
had many characters with lots of people and stuff. It's going to be, probably a bit simpler.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's, when we've talked about horror films, and the things that we don't like is the found footage kind.
Yeah.
And, so if you don't want to make like this is what I'm doing kind of thing, do a mockumentary. Instead of found footage, do a mockumentary horror. So you're locked in your house, right? And do the creepy sounds, or you're doing a documentary on something. That's better than found footage. I would think so. I would take the, so-and-so was doing a documentary and shit went wrong, and they were filming it from that perspective, than, the shaky cam found footage crap. But anyway.
Well, but whatever your thing is, do your thing. If you love found footage, then do that.
Well, yeah. And I would suggest do the mockumentary now. Set your iPhone up. If you have to prop it up against a fucking book, do it. If you've got shit to actually get in there and do this, because you've got like a closet full of equipment, well, then by all means do that. But this is an excellent way to maybe at the end of this, when we can all go outside and be closer than 6 feet, from one another, maybe get out there and do a documentary. Maybe this time has shown you something that, I really would like to talk about this. Maybe it's fucking Tombstone. You don't have to make, well, seriously, you don't need to make a documentary about going to Tombstone. You could make a documentary, My Fascination with Tombstone. Document yourself researching it. Document yourself calling people, and talking to people about just anything. You can do anything as a documentary.
Yeah.
YouTube has untold numbers of videos covering things I can't even imagine. The breadth of topics is almost infinite.
Yes.
Be a part of it and put your thing out there, because it's going to do a couple things. One, well, it's going to flex your creative muscles, right? Two, it's going to distract you, because like for writers, the big thing I want to say to writers is quit bitching about being isolated. This is what you fucking signed up for. Writing is not a team sport. We're a writing team, but that's for scripts.
Yeah.
Our novels, our other things are just us.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. When you sign up to be a writer, not every show has a writer's room. Some of these shows, it's just one guy. He's the creator, right? And he just pounds out the shit by himself.
Well, I know. We've recently watched shows where there was just one writer or two occasionally for an episode.
Yeah. Like Stephen King. Okay. Stephen King's written a lot of books. He doesn't do it in the middle of a coffee shop having conversations with people.
No.
Right? He's tucked away in his writing room. So if you want, this is it, folks. This is it. I mean, if you get a job on a show that has a writer's room, awesome. But it's just you and the words. So use that time. If it's making you nervous, and I get that, again, this can be scary to people. I have this isn't as bad as I've seen life can get kind of attitude. So I'm not freaking out. I'm just frustrated at the lack of seriousness people are showing towards this whole thing. But, we still write. We're still doing the podcast. We still educate our daughter and do all the stuff, right? We're just smart about all the other shit we got to do.
Yes.
We've been inside forever, only been out to get groceries. And that's just me.
Well, you have. I have not left the house in weeks.
Well, part of that is because of your ankle.
And my asthma.
Well, but that is a part of it, yes. But you've not been mobile.
Yeah.
So that seemed kind of silly. Even without all this, it would have been just me.
True.
But now with all this going on, yeah. I mean, even if you didn't have asthma, though, what's the point of 3 of us going out?
Well, yeah.
To do what I can do on my own? I mean, it's just, common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Why expose, 1 or 3 when it can just be 1, if it comes to that. But
true.
Anyway, if you need a break from the solitude, and writing can make people feel more secluded.
Yeah.
Right? Make a documentary, people. Make a mockumentary. Pick something, have fun. I'm looking over here. So I've got my Luke Skywalker figures, Ben Kenobi, Yoda, R2, just, all
I have
kinds
a T-Rex.
Yeah, I got a giant Chewbacca. I've got Flynn's kid from Tron, Nightcrawler. I got Mr. Scott from original series.
I have Jane from Firefly.
Right. Yeah, you do. You got Daryl.
Oh, I do have Daryl.
Yeah.
And Rick Grimes.
Yeah. And Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, a Dalek. So,
hey,
see,
don't discount the Daleks.
Any one of these things is an easy 10-minute documentary, a 10-minute mockumentary, right?
Yeah.
The downfall of R2-D2, right? The misunderstood Klingons kind of thing. I could come up with a bunch of shit and just take a shot of the figure, do a quick, silly voice and, have them respond to questions like this and then ask them, so what was it that in your life seemed to turn the page? Well, I just didn't know what the hell to do with that situation. See, there's my soundtrack for something fucking stupid, but I could have fun doing it,
Yeah.
And here's the best part. Here's the absolute best part of all this stupid wasting time bullshit. It might actually entertain someone.
Yeah, it might let someone think about not this terrible situation for a minute or
right.
2 or 5.
But isn't that why all of us are doing this? Whether you're a writer, director, however you're involved in creativity,
mm-hmm.
painter, illustrator, musician, composer, isn't the end result to entertain someone, hoping that someone will go, I like that.
Everyone is turning to art right now.
They are.
Whether that is crafting or filmmaking or, anything. The possibilities are endless. I have been reading a lot of, how to cast resin dice. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like something fun I could do.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of things that I need to do. So,
we don't have the tools.
It's not a now thing. But, as an artist, if you're listening and you are an artist, whether you're a writer, actor, director, whatever, like, this is your time to rise up and do something, as an artist.
This is the time. I agree. It's the time to be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting situation. Nobody ever thought would happen. This, a global pandemic, most of the country on lockdown. Everyone afraid to go out and all this, isolation. But, here's the thing. A lot of people, and we've talked about it, and there are other people out there like in Stage 32 and just other people in the industry. If that big paycheck is your fucking, like, the end goal, then you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
Okay, being a creative, it can never be about the money. We all want to make money doing this because it's that whole thing. If I could pay the bills off this, fuck, heaven. And that is true. But the only people who succeed are the people who do it and lose money. We put money into this podcast.
Yeah.
Right? This costs money. We don't use free services. We have decent services that we pay for because we're serious about it.
We have good
And,
equipment.
Yeah, we got good equipment. We got everything. So it's a cost in doing this. And it would be nice to get a return to cover it. But, we made the fucking decision in the beginning. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're going to write scripts. We're going to send them out. We're going to talk to people and, listen to them politely tell us to get fucked or you're not famous enough or, too much money. Basically just rejection. And every creative knows exactly what I'm talking about because we've all been through it. But this is the moment to be that creative that you wanted to be. Create something in the face of adversity for the sole purpose of making someone else either smile or take their mind off of shit, but lose themselves in whatever you've done for 5 to 10 minutes, however long this thing is that you did, whether it's a song or a video or something. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Because if we had more of that way back, and I'm not saying there's not a huge number of people who are out there who just give, right? There are links on social media. People put out, here's my song, here's my next thing, here's this and that, here's that. So there's a ton of people doing it.
Yeah.
But I've noticed a lot of people shutting down because this is overwhelming.
It is.
And my thing is really be that creative. Cling to that. Pull yourself back up with, okay, this is a bitch, but you know what? I'm an entertainer. I'm a creator. And by fucking God, I'm going to be better than this. And I'm going to do something so at least one more person out of the hundreds of millions of people suffering through this same isolation bullshit, maybe one of them will click on this and go, and just step outside for 10 minutes of their own bullshit. Right. And then if we get 2 people do that, that gives us 20 minutes for that person. Maybe 4 people will watch, maybe 10 people will watch, then maybe 100 people will watch or listen or just stare. I'd love to see more illustrations.
Yeah.
I love staring at illustrations. It's like going to the museum for paintings. That's pretty. Well, it's pretty, but I need to be here for about 20 minutes to a half an hour because I want to see every little thing. Because I like to appreciate everything, every brush stroke I can see, every bristle mark in a painting, just so I can appreciate it that much more. Because whoever was behind this, not necessarily just the great masters, but, they deserve that.
Right.
Other than a passing, oh, that's pretty. It's kind of colorful. And then you walk by. That's just me.
Yeah. And I mean, I speak, for us, I want to just kind of like wrap the COVID thing up.
Oh, yeah.
I think people have heard a lot about it, but I speak just for us, this last little tidbit here, which is that for us, our creative output is therapeutic for us.
Mm-hmm.
That is not the case for everyone.
That's true.
If you at this point in time are too stressed out to create, don't beat yourself up over it. Don't kill yourself over it. If you need to just chill and not be productive and not do things, if that's your therapy, then by all means do that. But if creating is a therapy for you, like it is for us, this is a wonderful time to do that.
Okay, so enough of that. Let's just get back to the brilliance of documentaries and mockumentaries.
Yeah.
We have seen some of both mockumentaries that have been wildly entertaining. And we've seen some documentaries that have, run the gamut from, what was this even about?
Right.
To, holy shit, that was good. Like from an information standpoint, from a technical standpoint.
Or in the case of Tiger King, an entertainment standpoint.
Right. That's the other thing. I'm not saying run out and jump into a 15-year commitment to a story. It's like making a murderer.
Right.
Right. They had no idea it was going to go on for so many years.
Well, who would?
Right. Well, that's just it. And the thing we talk about, Tiger King, all this guy was doing was trying to get a bead on what's up with these fucking venomous snakes. right? Who's selling them and who's buying them and why?
Yeah.
This was going to be like a 20-minute segment on something, right? And then the fateful lines, yeah, come out and see what I got in the van. Huh? Boom. The journey to Tiger King was born.
Right.
Holy God. Doing a documentary is fairly easily done. Now, it might not be Sundance Festival admittance level because, they want clean, crisp, certain look kind of thing, controversial topic, preferably.
Well, I think doing a documentary, getting footage is, I think, the easy part of a documentary.
It is.
Constructing a story and a narrative from that footage is where it does get kind of difficult.
It can, depending on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm going to bring up Charles Kuralt. People my age are going to know him and older, who are Charles Kuralt, CBS News. The man has some great audiobooks out there. He's gone. But most of you who might remember him is like on 60 Minutes. It's Charles Kuralt on the road. Charles Kuralt across America. They always gave him like 5 minutes at the end of the show. He'd just like pull into some random town in his RV with his producer and cameraman. And they would find a story and share it with America.
Right.
And that's the other thing. If you can get a hold of Charles Kuralt's audiobooks, because they're him narrating his own biography, it's fucking magical. But you can do the same thing. So he built a career on this. I mean, he had a career way before this, as a correspondent and all this shit. But that was his final mark in the industry, was just a little bit of American stories for America. And that's not a patriot thing. It's just, he didn't like travel the world and give us stories. It's like, well, this is what's going on across the street. So for topics, right? Instead of, if you want a simple story, do a documentary on your block or your favorite part of downtown, or, a small like local music or something. It doesn't take a lot of planning to figure out where you're going with it, because you're not trying to expose anything. It's just, let's talk about what, who's playing music here and why, and, who did they get inspired from, and just kind of show off, do like a showy piece. This is my town. This is what I like about my town. And here's the people in it. That's a documentary, right?
Yeah.
But then you get more complicated, like you said. If you want to tell a story, it takes a little more planning, but you can do it. You do it on the cheap.
Explain how.
Well, generally, you don't pay people to be in a documentary. Number one.
Well,
but it's one of those things. You can do it with an iPhone. You can spend $40 to buy a microphone to stick into your iPhone, so you get better sound, and or your smartphone. I'm just, because we have iPhones. I mean, if you got an iPhone, you got every fucking thing on there already. You can edit the video. You can record the sound. You can separate the two. You got two different applications to fuck with each of those, and then bring them back together.
And even if you don't, there are a million apps out there that can do it.
Yeah, well, that's as you start stepping up. I'm saying, like, right out of the pocket, man, you're set to go. You just need to have an idea. What do you want to talk about? And you can be the narrator.
Yeah.
And you can just turn the phone around and film you talking about shit. Yep. And then cut in, I talked to this musician, I talked to this store owner, I talked to this guy who I know sat on this bench for the last 30 years I've been here.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's just that simple. Have fun with it.
Right.
Because we've talked about making horror movies on the cheap. Just make a, what's that sound? What's going on? They're easy to do.
They are.
And all of this has made me think this is what everyone should be doing. It's just having fun with this, or doing it seriously, one way or the other. But, I think of some mockumentaries I'd like to do.
Oh, I've got a ton of things that I'd like to do. If I had the time to do it, if I were not like working during the day and had lots of time to play with stuff and do stuff, and
right?
I would want to. Here's my fun idea: recreate like a kaiju movie wherein I play every single part.
Like it.
Yes.
Is this your ploy to get me to buy you a T-Rex suit?
I have 37 different ploys to get you to buy me a T-Rex suit. This is just one of them. But also, I think it would be fun.
Oh, it absolutely would be fun. And that's the thing. Not everyone is alone, right? A lot of people are with their partner, their spouse, their significant other, roommates even.
Right.
Right. Or family. That's even better. If you've got a ready-made cast, right?
Yeah.
And if everybody's sitting around, especially if you're getting on each other's nerves, that's the best time to enlist people for free. But yeah, just, I don't know, get out and do it. Have fun with it.
Right.
Or you could be serious.
I have come up with so many creative ideas in this situation. Okay. So I also came up with an idea wherein you can take period piece dramas, TV or movie, and edit sports commentary into them. Like, ooh, let's replay that. Watch that hand flex.
I think it's a good idea. You know this.
I know.
But I fear that you're touching on a genre that has a rabid following. And I think the backlash of taking Pride and Prejudice and turning it into an NFL play-by-play commentary would incense so many people. It would almost seem counterproductive.
Okay, but
that's just me.
Here's what you don't understand.
Okay.
I am one of those rabid fans.
I suppose.
And it does not offend me at all. I think it would be hilarious.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Well, first of all, you got to come up with the money to license one of those bad boys.
Oh, man. I'll add it to my to-do list.
That's not going to come cheap.
Hey.
All right. So, folks, that's the thing, right? After listening to this, take your headphones off, grab something, and go make a fucking mockumentary, documentary, whatever you want to do. But start filming some shit.
Uh-huh.
And, just have fun with it, And, who knows what's going to come out at the end of this? It might be a whole new genre of classification because of this. I got to put my glasses on because I can't read this tiny print. So, Tombstone Rashomon.
Yes.
April 21st. I want to get this out there. We will have links in the show notes, folks. It is going to be on DVD in stores and online at Walmart, Best Buy, Target, Deep Discount DVD, DVD Planet, CC Video, and more. By the time we get to the release of this, I will probably get more information from these wonderful people at Tricoast. Yeah. Tricoast Entertainment Tricoast Productions is who made this.
Yes.
And who I'm speaking with. So if there are any more things they want out there, I will put them in the show links. It is not currently scheduled to be released onto video on demand platforms until July 2020.
Yes.
We'll see how that goes. Again, if there's a change, we'll put it in the show notes.
Yep.
But so yeah, this is like a real thing.
You can pre-order it on Amazon now.
Yes, and I will have that link for them on our show notes.
I think we're going to pre-order it. I'd like to have a DVD of this.
It's worth it, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, go see this. I know we didn't talk a lot of detail about it because it's not worth breaking it down play by play. You know? It's the Tombstone story. It's well shot, well acted. It's a fun approach, an interesting approach.
It's unique.
Yeah, and I tell you what, this fucking thing should have some righteous awards.
I agree.
After its release, I'm serious. It's that good, guys. So B-siders, check this bad boy out. Check the show notes and see where you can go for it.
Support Tri-Coast. Support these actors and everyone who worked really hard on this film.
Yeah, because this is indie film.
Yeah.
And this is, man, I tell you what, with a little bit of support, sometimes a little bit of luck in indie filmmaking. You know, it's all great shit. It's just all great shit. So support. Speaking of support, check out our website.
www.lordsofmisruleproductions.com.
That's the one. All of our subscribe links are there for your podcast platform. We have a Patreon link. Please check out our Patreon page through that link.
We have a blog.
We have a blog. I just posted something today, but it's like every couple of weeks.
I know. You have to scold me so that I write blog posts. Well, I have ideas for them, but
I tried to do it. Anyway, so yeah, check all that out. Also links to all of our social media, Twitter and everything, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube link. Again, all the subscription things, email links too, if you want to reach out to us. Especially, that's how we got this screener. Tri-Coast just heard us and
said, hey,
you want to see a movie? Yeah.
Of course we do. That is literally what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'd love to talk about it. And, hopefully we can talk to some of these folks at Tri-Coast that she did say they would be interested in doing an interview. So we'll see what we can work out.
That would be so fun.
Well, yeah, it would. It would. We'll see what I can get going.
All right.
Mm-hmm. All right. It is hot as hell in this office now.
I am. Yeah.
Because we were in here for like 20 minutes before we started recording, getting shit set up and just kind of fucking around.
We have our new setup in the office. And so this is the second time we've recorded with this setup. So we're finessing it.
Yeah. Last time I used my laptop, which I also record on, and I thought that's a notoriously bad fucking idea. So, trying a different setup where I'm not using my regular laptop. I'm using my backup laptop for my notes.
Right.
And because we're not sharing the giant screen anymore, we got our own little stations and stuff. But anyway, yeah, we're going to spend some time fucking around. And that extra 20 minutes, man, really did a job. I see you got your pant legs rolled up again.
I sure do. I thought about taking my shirt off, but I thought that might be going too far.
I tell you what, since we don't have to go outside anymore, I'm thinking of switching to shorts mode. Fuck this official spring stuff. I'm so done with pants that I think I'm going to start wearing shorts during the day because where do we go? Nowhere. Even grocery shopping, I don't give a shit. I'll leave the house in shorts. It's not like I'm going out in my britches.
I think you should be able to wear whatever the fuck you want outside at this point in time.
Well, I think I'm going to because this is hot and I hate pants. I hate pants.
I might switch to shorts too.
That's going to be on my gravestone. I hate pants.
Fuck pants.
Pants are bogus. All right.
Thank you for listening, B-Siders.
Thank you once again. So all the usual bullshit. Reach out to us. Check our stuff.
Rate, review, follow us.
Retweet, everything you can. We just want to reach as many people as possible with this magnificently small niche audience that we've decided to
market to. Yeah.
Market to.
Yeah. How small do you want your audience? The head of a pin.
Yep.
Yeah, that's our niche.
And I think it's only fair at this point because this is our 27th episode.
Oh my gosh.
28th if we count the bonus. 27th numbered, and we have the one bonus with Anton and Carl. We did that as a bonus episode, not an actual episode number.
We've been doing this for half a year.
Yeah, we're halfway to our first year. If you aren't a filmmaker if you aren't a writer and you're listening to us, thank you.
Yeah.
We're not trying to say that you aren't worthy. You know, we designed this for people who want to do all this shit and are afraid or nervous. And we're just saying, hey, you know what? There's good and bad shit out there, but everything you can learn from, you know, all that good stuff. But yeah, if you're not actually involved in any of this insanity, but you're entertained by what we're doing, thank you for listening and share it with friends.
Yeah.
You know, it's what, you know, we're just doing it because it's fun and we want to be helpful and entertaining. You know.
Yeah.
All right. With that.
Yes. We'll catch you next week.
Yes, we will.
I'm Danny.
I'm Jim.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.